Hope you're well. Right, here's one for all you rock fans, all you rockers out there. Now, I know many of you might not see this, but the ones that do, this is for you. Right, do you ever watch much on that there YouTube, rock-wise? Do you watch much? I don't just mean the old videos from the classic rock bands, or rock bands of all ages, for that matter. No, I mean shows to do with rock, YouTube shows. I do. I watch one from time to time called Sea of Tranquility. Came across it about 12 months ago, like it a lot. The head-on show there, the main man, is a guy called Pardo, I think his name is. It's filmed in America. It's across the pond there. It's not a British thing, but I like the channel a lot. I like him a lot. Now and again he appears with a good pal of his called Martin Popov. Very, very clever fellow, that one. Like him as well. Few of the presenters on there, or few of the guests he has on, I'm not as keen on. But Pardo I love, and Popov I like. Anyway, he's done something today, and it's really, really, really weird. Let me take you back to just yesterday. Only yesterday, it's the afternoon, before I started recording. What did I put on, and what was the reason for it? That's it. I'm flicking through my YouTube feed to see if there's anything else I need to watch or need to see before I record yesterday. And as I'm flicking through, I seen a song come up there called Riff Raff. Riff Raff, the old AC/DC thing. But it was with Brian Johnson, old Johners. I think it was done recently since he's come back from the problems he had with the ear. And I thought, I'll give it a go. And I'll have a listen. Anyway, I put it on. It's filmed, I think, in America, but I can't remember where. And it sounds pretty good. The guitar kicks in and they're doing the old guitar bit that Angus would normally do in it. And it sounds pretty good, but I thought, doesn't sound as good as the original, this, But it sounded good. And Angus is looking good, all right. He's gone all white now, all white hair. I can't say anything. I used to have dark hair. But it's pretty good. And I thought, well, I'll wait in for Johnson. Because, you see, the thing is with me, folks, I've never really been a massive Johnson fan. Like him as a bloke. Don't mind him as a front man. Don't love him. I'm more your Bon Scott guy myself, which is crazy, really, because I had a big chance to see Bon Scott once or twice in the 70s and didn't take it. Regret it to this day. More about that another time. Anyways, I thought, right, I'm going to get to my subject in it, don't worry about that. So I plays it, and the old start takes a while, as it always does, the intro. And anyway, as the intro ends, it kicks in, ready for the vocalist, and Johnson starts singing. And he's not as bad as I expected him to be. When I say that, I don't think he's crap or anything like that. But he's got a different voice than most anybody, but so has Bon Scott. But the thing I like more about Bon Scott's is, Bon's is as high as Johnson's or higher, but not as gravelly. And with Bon Scott's, I can understand every word more than I can with Johnson. If I know Johnson singing a song that I know, I can pick all the words out if I know it well. If it's one that I don't know quite as well, I'm struggling to pick out the word in there, whereas I don't with Bon Scott at all. I find him a lot clearer. I just think he's a better vocalist for me, or was a better vocalist. But anyway, I'm listening. I got about a minute and a half, and I thought, right, I've had enough of that. I'm going to look for the original. So I look for the original, and I find the original, the official video. It says it's an official video, and I think it says it's in Glasgow, if memory serves. It's not Barrowlands, but I think it's Glasgow, the Apollo, the Odeon, or something like that. So I puts that on, and lo and behold, they come on there, it's in concert, and it's with old Bon singing there. And I'm thinking, if it's the official one, is it all going to be mimed this? So you see lots of videos where they're appearing live in concert, but they're appearing live and they're just doing the live performance, and the vocals are taken from the proper vocals in the studio, and you see it doesn't sync with the lips. This wasn't that way. This really was live and spot on, because everything you heard was bob on with Bon's lips there. And anyway, obviously Angus is looking a lot younger and getting about the stage more. But the intro, the long intro, sounded more like on the LP, the original LP. Because if you've listened to it before, the live one is brilliant. If you listen to Riff Raff on the live, it's just absolutely brilliant. I mean, that's what they used to start with. I think they start now with Thunderstruck, I think, if memory serves. But they used to start with that, and the intro is fantastic, just as is Thunderstruck. But the intro is fantastic, and I've always thought I'd love to have pictured being there in the crowd as the guitar's kicking in, doing what it does before Bon starts to sing. Anyway, I listened to the whole of the song there, and it was stunning, absolutely stunning. And for me, absolutely knocked spots off the more recent one with your man. And it's not just because I thought he was a better singer, Bon Scott, but everything about it was better. The guitar playing was better. It was just better, and I loved it. And then from that, I thought, I'm going to listen to something else fantastic. What will I listen to next? Don't what made me think of it. I thought, I know what I'm going to listen to. I was going to go for some Van Halen and thought, no, go for class, real class, where I know not only can they play the stuff, they can really sing it. I went for Who Are You? But I went, Who Are You? The Who song. But I wanted the one that had been recorded in the studio but done live with Keith Moon playing, because I just love Keith Moon. The biggest regret I've got in my musical life is that I never seen Keith Moon live. That's the one huge thing I regret. Anyway, loved it. It was brilliant. I go from that and I'm just looking at what comes up in my feed, because I've got music on then. And Child in Time comes up by Purple. And I've not listened to as much Purple on YouTube for a long, long time. And I thought, go on, I love Child in Time. I've heard it for a while, I'll put that on. Anyway, I put it on. And I noticed, I stop it a minute in, because I'm thinking, this is just absolutely incredible. Not good, but incredible. And I hold it, and it says 1970, and I'm thinking, oh my God, it's 55 years ago. It's 55 years ago, and the sound, the production, the musicianship is stunning. It's absolutely stunning. And I mean stunning, it's brilliant. Gillan is at the top of his game. He's shrieking, he's wailing like only he can. His voice is crystal clear, not like it's been the last 15, 20, 25 years. I mean, Gillan, for me, 20, 25 years ago, were gone compared to what he used to be. He's even worse now than he was 20, 25 years ago. But in the 70s, the early 70s, he was fantastic. He probably hadn't damaged his voice then with some of the singing he does and the beer that he drinks. But it was brilliant. If you get a chance to watch it, folks, watch it. It's sensational. It's the one where Blackmore's got a weird guitar. It probably is a Gibson, but it's not your normal Gibson. It's not the Strat that he would normally play. Gillan's wearing a pair of weird shoes. I don't know what they're all about. You'll see it anyway. It's just stunning. And I was thinking of Purple only about a week ago. And I was thinking to myself, well, it wasn't really about Purple. I was thinking of two people. I was thinking of Richie Blackmore and John Lord. For my money, there's been nobody ever in music, no two players in a band that play so well off each other, with each other, and off each other, bounce off each other. I think they're both absolutely sensational. They're brilliant, brilliant, brilliant musicians, but they almost like riffing together, although you wouldn't call it a key, but they're stunning. The virtuosity is fantastic, and they just bounce off each other like nobody I've ever seen before in music. I then had further thoughts to myself a week or two ago. I thought, I don't think there's ever been a better band musically than Purple. I really, really don't. Gillan was just a killer vocalist. Not a good one, an absolute killer. You then had Roger Glover on bass. Now, I think at one time when Glover left the band, I heard things, and I think it was in the press, that Blackmore wanted rid of him because he didn't think he was a good enough musician. He wanted the best of the best. And for all Glover's a great bass player and more than adequate and competent, I don't think he is like he's definitely not the very, very best, because there's a guy that's head and shoulders above anybody, and he was appearing in the other band I mentioned earlier. He was appearing in The Who. But then again, we're not all John Entwistles. But he's a great bass player. He's also great with music. He's a great producer now. He's done loads of production stuff. In the end, he came back and they all got on as pals. Well, no, that didn't happen, but they got on with Glover anyway. But Glover did leave once and came back. I think he was probably, if there's a weak link in the band, it would be him. But he's more than competent. Better than most bass players in most bands. But you had Lord, who was sensational. You had Glover, who was really good. You had Pace, who was a brilliant drummer. A friend of mine, an old friend of mine many years ago, was a drumming teacher. And he said how much he liked Pace, amongst others. And he said the one thing he remembers about Pace, and he found it a bit big-headed, was he said, look, they all talk about the best drummer being him or him or him. Pick any drummer, tell me who you like, and I'll play what he plays. I can play what anybody plays. I can play it the way he plays. He said he felt he was a little bit big-headed. He doesn't come across that way when I see him interviewed, but this drum coach said he felt it with that quote that he was. And then you've got Richie Blackmore, and that's who I'm going to focus on, and you've probably seen the thumbnail to this. And that's who Pete Pardo on Sea of Tranquility mentioned today, which is why I'm doing this video. Pardo did a video today on Sea of Tranquility saying, happy birthday, Richie. 80 years of age. Richie Blackmore, 80. I think it's today. I couldn't believe it. I did read only the other day, he was 79. But 80 is just a proper milestone. You think, 80? And then I think to myself, well, I'm not that far away, so yeah, it's ever possible. You know, I watched him in the early 70s, the late 70s, then I've watched him ever since. But I couldn't believe he was 80. And as I say, he then is the other benchmark. You've got Lord on one side and Blackmore on the other side of Deep Purple and everything else in between. And I thought, 80? And I couldn't believe it. And as I say, I was thinking as about a week ago that I don't think I've ever seen or heard a better band musically than Deep Purple, and I don't think I have. These other great bands had a great musician in there, maybe a couple of musicians, but I don't think there's anybody that's had it throughout the band. I really don't. And I love Blackmore and Lord together. You know, I mean, for me, there's only sort of probably two people that I've got that are better than anybody else in the field, better than anybody else. One, funny enough, would be for me, John Lord. I don't think there's a keyboard player that gets anywhere near him. You know, you can keep the boy from Yes and everybody else for me, or the guy from ELP. I just think John Lord's the best he's ever been. I think he's just sensational. I'm not saying I think Blackmore's the greatest guitarist I've ever seen, but he's certainly one of the best. He's certainly very, very, very close to being the best I've ever seen. He may even be the best I've ever seen. I always have him in top 3, top 5, and I move him around. But I was watching him in Child in Time sort of yesterday and whatever. And when I think of Blackmore, I think of Clapton, I think of Beck, I think of Page, and I think Blackmore. Because they all came from the same kind of background at the same time. All British, all around about the same age, all playing in that there London. Often many of them playing as session musicians, sometimes one or two of them playing in the same group. They all talk about one another. Weirdly, not many of them talk about Richie Blackmore. I don't know why, although I did see a video on that only the other day. Somebody mentioned they think there's some jealousy there, and I think that probably could be the case. 4 great guitarists. But I'm watching Blackmore yesterday and I'm thinking, I don't care what they tell me about Beck and about Clapton. For me, they're not even in anywhere near Blackmore's league. And the reason for it is, Blackmore composes and plays on and to the songs that I like more than anything that the boys have done. I'm not that au fait really with Beck, I must admit, although when I've seen him he's been brilliant. I know a few songs of Clapton's, but it's only really the hits, the more mainstream stuff. But with Blackmore, the songs he does, I just love. And the catalogue it's huge, it's absolutely huge. From the stuff with Rod Evans years ago, like your Mandrake Route and all of that, to all the way to the end stuff with Rainbow. No, I'm not into the Fairies Wear Boots stuff, the stuff he does Blackmore's Nights, them stupid hats and the boots. No, that's not for me. I'm not into all of that. But everything else he's done in between, fantastic. He's done some of the greatest riffs of all time. His virtuosity on the guitar is just, he's brilliant. Brilliant. I've read pieces in the past about like people like Yangwi Meltschreen, that I can't even say Yangwi, that tried to base himself on Blackmore, but said I can play everything quicker and faster and this, that and the other. Blackmore could do everything. He could play slow, he could play fast, he could play hard, he could play soft, he can do rock, he can do blues, he can do jazz, he can do classical, he can do absolutely everything. And he does it sensationally. He's just a brilliant musician. He's stunning. And then when he went with Rainbow and got even more poppy and wanted to go for hits, you look at some of the hits he's had with Rainbow, you know, some of them are fantastic. And he's not just done it with, he didn't just do it with Dio, he did it with Dio, he did it with Bonnet, he did it with the other fella, who I can't think now because my memory's crap, because that's my age and I know him really well and I can see him with the long hair. You know who he is. I know who he is. He did songs with 3 vocalists and he got top 10, top 20 hits with all of them. All brilliant songs. But then again, you go back to in Japan with things like Child in Time and Lazy and stuff like Space Trucking. Just sensational. I've just loved Purple forever. Was he my Rock hero as a kid, I loved him. He wasn't. I've got one or two that I always had before him as a rock hero. One of my best mates, he absolutely adored him. He's definitely his hero. He had him on his back. He had a Levi, and he had him painted on his back by the greatest artist in Warrington. Didn't look very much like Blackmore, I must admit, but we all loved it because he spent a fortune on it. He spent forever doing it, and it looked sensational, but it didn't look like Blackmore. But my mate absolutely adores him, and I mean adores him. Do I love him? Of course I do. I think he's brilliant, Blackmore. He's just sensational, as I say. He's better than the two I mentioned. Page I was never sure about. I was never sure about till I seen him at Nebworth, and he blew me away. I didn't realise how good he was. He was sensational. He's definitely one of the best I've seen, like Blackmore. Definitely in the top 5, I think I've got him in. I think I have. But for me, Blackmore's better. He's done more. But then again, I was more Purple than I was Zeppelin, so maybe that's the reason. But I've seen Blackmore more recently when they reformed Rainbow with Romero. I wasn't keen on some of the musicians there, although they sounded great. But Romero was fantastic. Joe Lynn Turner came to me in the end, folks. Joe Lynn Turner. But Romero was brilliant. What a great vocalist he was. Loved him. Great. And Blackmore was sensational. I'll never see him again now at his age. He's had heart problems. He's had, stents fitted and whatever else. And at the moment he can't fly. I don't think he'll fly again. I don't think he'll come to GB and perform. But he was brilliant. But I love him. Think he's fantastic. And as I say, very, very undervalued and underappreciated. Not by us that have watched him and us that know him. But when people talk about the very, very top guitarists, he doesn't get the mentions that he should, because he is sensational. Absolutely sensational. Love him. Think he's great. As I say, musically brilliant. With John Lord, him and John Lord, just a match made in heaven. They really, really were. Really, really are, because it's still all there on vinyl. And weirdly, I'm a weird fan, because my favourite LP is one that nobody really rates. It's Fireball. I just love Fireball, but it came at a time in my life when I clung to it. And it's probably not Richie's best guitar work on that. None of his real classics are on there, I don't suppose. But I love Fireball, just loved it. But loved them live, thought they were fantastic live. And Blackmore, just brilliant. As Mr. Pardo said earlier, you just never know what was going to come next when he was on stage. He was pent-up aggression. Very, very rarely smiled, very much like myself. Very much like myself. I go under the moniker Britain's Grumpiest Old Gate. Well, that's only because Richie now lives in that there America. If he lived over here, I think he'd be fighting me for that title. He's not the happiest soul in the world. No, he's not. I'm sure inwardly, like me, he is happy. Because inwardly, I'm fine, folks. I just don't look it on the outside. But no, love him. Think he's great. So I'll say the same as Mr. Pardo said earlier. Richie, you're not likely to see this. But were you to, just know there's a fella in that there Warrington, Lancashire, well, they call it Cheshire now, but I call it Lancashire, that's where I was born, in England, where you were from yourself, who's seen you on a number of occasions, with a couple of bands, and absolutely loved you. Absolutely love you. One of the greatest guitarists of all time, definitely in my top 5, more than likely in my top 3. I'm not sure if you're in my top 1. You might be. Sometimes you are, sometimes you're not. But an hard act to follow for anybody. You've composed some of the greatest songs of all time. Just rock songs, should I say. Just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Have a great birthday. Have a long life. Don't go anytime soon. I do wish you were back with Rainbow rather than doing Blackmore's Night. But if you're happy with Blackmore's Night, sir, it's all about you. It's your life. As long as you're happy, I'm happy for you. Look after yourself, my old son. Look after yourself.